Thanks to Bangalore International Center also for having us here. Ladies and gentlemen, before I begin, I just had a few. I'd be failing in my duty if I didn't thank the people who have made a huge contribution, not just to the books on oral history, grinding songs sung at the grinding stone, but also to my life, because I do believe that we are the sum of everyone who has supported us right through our careers and our lives. So I'll be failing in my duty if I didn't thank, first of all, the storytellers who have shared so much of their lives, their personal lives, their intimate stories with us when we went to collect the songs. And also to Dr. Rajendra Bhai Kerkar and his wife Purnima, because they are the ones who actually worked with the storytellers, brought them out of the villages, and introduced them to the art and culture department, after which these storytellers were then invited to perform. I also want to thank Neena Sabnani, Nikhila, and Mainak and Ruchi for designing the book, Grinding Story. I'll just pick it up for you to have a look at the cover. This is the second volume. And we did this designing right through the pandemic, with Nikhila sitting in Bangalore, Neena sitting in Chennai, Mainak in Ahmedabad, Ruchi in Baroda, and me in Goa. And that's how this book was designed. So thanks to them. I also want to thank Hari. Hari, where are you? Okay. For putting this presentation together and for being by my side right through this past 1 year, taking me through all the steps of social media platforms and introducing me to a whole new world, a delightful world, I must say. And a big thank you to my family in Bangalore. Meera, where's Meera? Okay. Hi. Shubha and Kitty, for making me feel so much at home in your beautiful Bangalore, home in your beautiful city. So thank you. Okay, I'm going to start with the presentation now. I don't know if any of you have actually seen a grinding stone. It's a series of 2 discs. I'll talk about it in a bit. So we'll start the presentation. Now, my books this is my 10th book on Goan architecture and history. And how did I begin to collect these oral histories? Most of my books are on architecture. Houses of Goa, master builders of Goa, walking in Goa, walking with angels, walking in old Goa, dust and other short stories from Goa, where each story revolved around a house. And then suddenly, as I was researching art that is done on the walls to define sacred spaces in temples and homes, I came upon this art. Now, if you've traveled to southern Karnataka, South Kannada district, you would have seen art like this. Have any of you seen this kind of art? Yes? It's done on the walls, but it's done in 2 ways. One is that the wall is plastered with lime, the design etched out, and it's filled with kaav, which in Konkani means red dust. That is mixed with charcoal and a binding agent, and the etching is then filled in. The other way of doing it, if there's more red than white, is to actually plaster it with the kaav and then etch the white part out and fill it with lime. So I was researching this, and I reached a temple of Sri Mauli in a village in Dodamarg, and I saw this absolutely stunning picture that you see on your left. Now, I don't know if you can see the details, but I'll very quickly go over it. This is Garuda. This is Vishnu. And at Garuda's feet, there is a king cobra called Bhujang. And in common lexicon, I had always believed that the Garuda or the eagle and the king cobra are enemies. So I was fascinated with this drawing because there is so much compassion and kindness in this illustration. And I asked Dr. Rajendra Bhai, I said, how come it's such a compassionate expression on Garuda? And he said, there's a story to it that King Cobra was drowning and Garuda sees him from above and swoops down, picks him up, dries him with her wings, and feeds him milk and honey. And I said, that's a fascinating story. And it absolutely gave me goosebumps at that time. And I said, has it been recorded? Has the story been written down? So he said, no, this is oral history. Nobody writes it down. So I decided that I should collect these songs. Somebody has to write them down. And he said then that these are songs that are sung at the grinding stone. So with your permission, I'll just read out a little bit from the song. It is raining, oh how much it rains. It rains on the rivers, it rains on the lakes. I've translated these songs from Konkani and Marathi. It's a mix of both that the singers sing in. And what I've done is I've translated it in verse. It rains on land and on the trees. It rains on the heads of birds, animals, and bees. Bhujang the king cobra comes down from the hills. They say he does not come down unless he is dying. They also say that when his wife is pregnant, she travels from Keri to Panjim and goes through Marcel. And when she is on her way back, she shifts to Porvorim via Mapsa. These are all the towns and villages that we have in Goa. But did you know, listener of stories, that the babies in her belly remember the old route and can go back and forth as they please? Oh, lots of rain, there's lots of rain. Oh, Rama, there is lot of rain. Bhujang the king has come down the mountain. He's come rolling down the hills. Now the Garuda sees the king, sweeps down on him like the eagle she is. I've taken poetic liberty here. I've changed he to she. But did you know, O listener, that her breast filled with the milk of kindness and that she wipes Bhujang with her wings. She sees him slither, slide and fall. She sees him suffer on the slopes. She picks him out of the water, takes him up to her nest. She strokes him dry with her feathers. She feeds him milk and honey. Such is her kindness, the lady. That, with this poem, began my journey of collecting the songs and also adding kaavi illustrations. This was Nina's genius. Add kaavi illustrations. And by the grace of the universe, we were able to find illustrations for each and every song. Now let me go back to, most of us see Goa as a holiday destination, as a destination for party or family vacations. But there's more to Goa than meets the eye. This is the story of the 7 founding sisters. Much before the Portuguese arrived, much before the Kadamba dynasty was there in Goa, we believe that there were 7 sisters who founded Goa. Now, you see kaavi in the extreme, this one on the left. And this is an illustration of, I'll just tell you 1 or 2 of these stories because all 7 are very difficult. There's kaavi here. This is done by Sonia Rodriguez Sabarwal, one of our contemporary artists. And this is Sri Morjai. And all these 7 sisters, each one of them have a fascinating story. So this one is Lerai. And Lerai is the eldest of the 7 sisters. Morjai is the youngest. And the story goes that the youngest one was crying a lot. She was a very cranky baby. So the older sisters put her in a winnowing fan, a soup, and float her down the Shapora river. And she lands up in a river, on the banks of a river in Shetgaon, and they take her up, and she becomes the daughter of the village. And from the daughter of the village, she then gets divine powers, and she becomes the goddess of the village. So she becomes Sri Morjai, and the village is named after her, Morji. Now comes the story of the other sisters. They start feeling guilty. So what Lerai does, the oldest one, she makes a bed of coals and she walks on the bed of coals. And even today, the Lerai Jatra, or the festival, is where people, her devotees, fast for a week or 10 days and walk over hot coals in memory of this story. Does this look like a Hindu founding sister to you? What does it look like? Huh? Sorry. Yeah, Mother Mary. Okay, so this is Meera. The original name was Meera, and she, they believe, got converted to Christianity. There's a church named after her, Our Lady, and she became Our Lady of Miracles, Nossa Senhora dos Milagres. So, of course, we know that a lot of temples were demolished when the Portuguese ruled over Goa. And this was one of the few first temples in Bardes that was converted into a church. Now, and the locals believe that she is still a founding goddess, that she is still Meera, and only thing she chose to get converted. Lerai will send oil to Meera every festival time. Meera will send jasmines to Lerai every festival. One festival will not start without the other. The eldest founding sisters festival will start first. Only then the Catholic Our Lady of Milagres festival will start. So that tradition that continues even today, after conversion or whatever atrocities the new colonists imposed on the ruled. That's the story of the founding sisters. I'm going over this quickly because we only have 90 minutes, but please feel free to ask questions at the end. Whatever little I know, I'll tell you. Now, another thing is very, very curious about Goa is, and I'm sure it's in Karnataka, but it's definitely in Maharashtra as well. This is a concept that under a tree or at a corner of crossroads, you will find little shrines like this. Now, these shrines are called Rakhnos. Rakhno or Rakhandar is a guardian deity. He could be a guardian of a field, a farm, a village. He could be a guardian of an entire territory, an entire town. And this Rakhno, thanks to Hari's friend, Sonakshi, she shared this picture with us. Sometimes there is no form to the Rakhno. There is no idol. So this definitely is pre-Aryan in nature. And every Rakhno has a special offering that he likes. What do you think this Rakhno likes a lot? Huh? Coconut, of course. Coconut, flowers, agarbatti, oil lamp, these are standard features. But this Rakhno apparently likes to smoke. So we've got a little packet of beedies here. There are some Rakhnos who like sorrow. Sorrow means feni. So we offer feni to him. Some Rakhnos like Kolhapuri chappals. We offer him chappals. And if you go to Mapsa market and you say, you want for the Rakhno, they'll give you these huge chappals for him to walk. And they actually believe in the village that he actually walks through the village in these chappals. So this is some of the... There's also a tradition of hero stones, Veerahal or Veeragal, which we have everywhere, I think all over India. Certainly in Tamil Nadu we have them. And here also probably, you probably know them. These are hero stones, and we also in Goa have Sati stones. So you see in the corner, there's a little battle scene, and the Sati with her hand up, and the sun symbol on her forehead or head. Now what does the sun signify? Any idea? I'd like this to be interactive. If you take a wild guess, and there's no punishment for wrong answers. Suryavanshi? No, because these are warriors. These are simple, very simple, ordinary soldiers and their wives who committed sati. Not Suryavanshi. In Goa, sun is a symbol of a husband. So when you want to show a husband, you draw the sun. And also, if you want a good husband, or your husband has gone to battle or something, you want to make a vow for his good health, what do? You offer green bangles. Green bangles are a symbol of marital status. All married women in Goa, Hindu, wear green bangles. And what is interesting is, even if you're wearing a white gown, you're a Catholic, you have a church wedding, green bangles will be part of that attire. So there is a big hangover that we still carry with us. Now, I could go on talking for an hour about this picture, but I won't. This is Saraswati Ai, one of our oldest storytellers. When you ask her how old she is, she'll tell you, I don't know how old I am, but I've seen 3 bamboo flowers, 3 bamboo forests flowering in the forest. This is now if somebody hasn't seen the grinding stone, this is what it looks like. There's an axle in the middle and a handle. And you see the way she's sitting. She's sitting with her left leg out, her right leg in. And this is called, there is a certain position that you observe when you sit at the grinding stone. It's called fatkal. For menstruating women, there's another position. You fold your leg in. I'll show you a picture of it. Can everybody see? So this is how you sit when you're menstruating. And also sometimes you hold the handle from the top if you're a menstruating woman. They observed isolation. They don't now, fortunately, but in the old days they used to observe menstrual or ritual isolation. And if another woman helped you, she also wasn't allowed to touch you at that time. So you would hold the top and she would hold the bottom of the handle. So it became part of tradition. It was a necessity. Now, why did they start singing at the grinding stone? It's just a chore. You got up in the morning and you ground the wheat. So why would you sing along with it? What was the need to sing? The thing is that they used to get married very young. Saraswati got married when she was between 8 and 9 years old. She was the head of the house. Her mother-in-law had passed on. She became the head of her house at the age of 10. She had a father-in-law to look after, a 5-year-old sister-in-law, plus her husband, plus farm work and the housework, chickens, cows, and the whole works. So at the age of 10, she started managing an entire household. And the first thing you had to do, get up and make the bhakris, or make the rice, or make the semolina, like upma, something like upma. So first thing you did was grind at the grinding stone. And you sang because you had to share your troubles, share your effort, share your isolation, solitary life with someone. And you couldn't share it with your in-laws. You couldn't share it with the village. When Saraswati Ai said, I got married to a house, but actually I married a whole village. Because everyone in the village was an enemy. You couldn't confide in anyone. You couldn't share your secrets to anyone. They would tell on you. They would gossip about you. So you shared everything with the grinding stone. The grinding stone became your best friend. The other reason why they sang at the grinding stone was, it seems funny to us now, but they were not allowed to use percussion instruments. For some reason, they were not allowed to use drums or dhol, tasha, and so on. So what they did was, they turned the utensils into percussion instruments. So the grinding stone adds the percussion and also gives a confidant, gives the friendship to the woman who's grinding. Now, the significance of being a married woman. Today we are independent women, we live our own lives, we are not answerable to anyone. But in a Goan village, let's say 40, 50, 60 years ago, to be a married woman was the ultimate. This song tells us so much about the history or oral history or the status of women in Goa. Now, the picture we have of Goa, probably stereotyped by Bollywood, where you have somebody in a tight short skirt singing a song and so on, or you're always called Rosie or Julie and so on. So, but that stereotypical picture or image of the Goan woman is completely false. Completely false. But through these songs, I got to know a lot about their lives. And one of the things was that in this song she says, don't marry me off to an father, she says, don't marry me off to an older guy. He might die before me and I will have to die a widow, in which case it will be a huge setback to her. She says, for I must die a married woman. Whatever happens, I must die a married woman. That was the obsession of every young woman in Goa, in the village. These songs are collected from Valpoi and Sattari district. They didn't come under Portuguese rule till 1788. 1761 onwards, the Raja of Saunda and the Mysore Maharaja, who was a vassal to the Mysore Maharaja, he started negotiating with the Portuguese and the lands were given to him. So by 1788, this area came under the Portuguese. So there was no Portuguese influence, no Catholic influence, in fact, in these areas from where these songs come. But I also observed that Goan women in the structure, in this little box that they also had their own way of emancipating themselves, their own way of liberating themselves. In this song, for example, this is Goddess Gowri's song. Now, Goddess Gowri was Lord Shiva's first consort. If you give me permission, I'll just read it quickly. He says, the great Goddess Gowri chose the chosen one. She chose Lord Shiva as her partner, all on her own. Now her family, people say, did not approve of her choice. What sort of man will you marry? The wearer of a tiger skin? Does he work the fields for a living? Does he bring anything in? Thus they insulted her husband. Her choice her heart had made. Yet as per custom, Gowri went to her mother's house for a bit. After you get married, you go back to your mother's house. There they insulted her, calling her husband a bairagi, a hermit, a monk who went begging. They did not give her nice food to eat, nor nice clothes to wear. They served her dry bhakri and salt to go with it. Yet Gowri does not insult her mother, although she is filled with sadness. She does not eat the bhakri. She takes 3 pinches of salt from ash from the stove and goes back to her husband's place early, saying how much she loves her Bairagi, and that insult she will not take. The great goddess Gowri is brave, she is courageous, beautiful, intelligent. Yet, yes, but she loves him because they are compatible and she is an equal for him. There is a brother-sister dynamics. Now, I collected songs that are love between brother and sister for a reason. I've dedicated the first book to my brother, and I felt that there was a lot of passion or love between brother and sister in Goa, in this region, especially because sometimes your mother was pregnant with the new baby after you got married. You got married at 7 or 8. You were not allowed to cross the river to go back to your mother's house. And mother delivers a baby boy. You get the news, but you don't get to go back and see the little boy. So you weave stories around the brother. And there's one very endearing term that you use. You call the brother who's born after you a patsa bhav. Patsa bhav means a brother who's come riding on your back, literally. So this is a story of a brother and sister who meet in the Sankhali Bazaar. And the sister is crying, saying that they're giving me a lot of chores to do. They keep asking me to do one thing after another. I'm not happy at my in-laws. So the brother Now, see, sometimes the brother was sympathetic, sometimes he wasn't. He says, Mother and father have given you away for a reason. The brother said to his sister, They've given you away for a reason. Deal with it, dear sister. There's nothing more I can do. I can come for you, dear sister, but only for the Ganesh festival. I can take you home, dear sister, home just to celebrate. Here's your video.
साकळे बाजारात आकळे बाजारात बहिणी भावाची झाली भेट बहिणी भावाची झाली भेट भावा कोणी बघूनी बहीण दुःखावी घालू लागली बहीण दुःखावी घालू लागली कोणी बहिणी तुका गांधी आली कोणी बहिणी तुका शेळी आली सात जणांनी माता बहिणीक भाऊ कसं घेऊ इदास कसं घेऊ इदास आई बाबानं दिली ओढ बहिणी घेऊची निघे गोळ बहिणी घेऊची निघे गोळ घातलेल्या निघणाची बहिणी सांगलेल्या निकामाची बहिणी सांगलेल्या निकामाची चौथीच्या सणाला बहिणी येईन तुझ्या न्यायाला बहिणी येईन तुझ्या न्यायाला.
So that's Saraswati Ai for you, singing the same song that I just read out. And one thing, she's got a twinkle in her eye. She's very mischievous. When I said, she says, they don't call me for weddings and all because I'm a widow. Widows are not invited for auspicious functions and so on. But she said, they call me because I sing. So now she's almost become like a professional singer because there's very few people who do it now. And young women don't want to even sit at the grinding stone anymore, let alone sing. So, and this is tradition that's handed down from mother to daughter, not from mother to daughter-in-law for some reason. Daughter-in-law will help if the mother-in-law is not too well and so on. But they won't learn how to sing. What they've learned from their mothers, they will bring. Now we come to mother-daughter dynamics. What do we learn from the mother and daughter relationship? So this is Sarojini Viva Gaonkar's song. She composed it herself. She is a school teacher and a principal of a school also. And she collects songs that other people sing. She's also very good with English, Hindi, and Marathi, Konkani, of course. And she is also a bit of a researcher herself. So Sarojini's contribution for the books and for my research was really invaluable. I'll read out this song, which tells us in a nutshell what the love between a mother and daughter is and how they sing at the grinding stone about it. And you'll see the Konkani on the left and the English on the right. Oh, my lovely, lovely daughter, I have named her Ladu Bai. Ladu is everybody knows what a ladu is. Okay. Because she is round and sweet, I'll give her when she weds 4 buffaloes, 9 cows, and if she asks for something more, I'll give her a cart. She means a bullock cart, with a pair of handsome bulls, all white if I could. But if she asks for something more, I'll send her a slave alongside to help plaster her floors with fresh cow dung. Oh, my lovely, lovely daughter, what I would not do for you if only I could. Now, the last line is very important, if only I could, because these people don't come from very wealthy families. There's no way she could have given 4 cows and a cart and a slave and so on. But she would like to, if she could. Now we see a little change of genre also. We understood the relationship between brother and sister. We've studied the relationship between mother and daughter. And now we also look at pride. So this is a very old song where the king builds up an army, there's a fight, the king wins the battle, but this soldier's wife, the messengers come to her, and she then faces the messengers, and she thinks they brought good news, but in fact they brought very tragic news that her husband has died in battle. Now what does she tell the messengers? See that feeling of pride. She says, when I saw the messengers of the king at my door, I was overjoyed to see them, thinking they come bearing good tidings, gifts, and news of his homecoming. But sadness, the news was of the opposite. My husband for me was everything. Now I lack for nothing. For who wants anything when they've lost everything? Go back, O messengers, grovel before your king. Tell him, I said, today you taste the fruit of his bravery, sweet for you but sour for me. As for me, should your kingdom burn to ashes, it would not affect me. This is the anger and the resentment that the widow is expressing to the messengers. It's a very, very beautiful song. And this I put in a group called Everyday Wisdom. This is the kind of pride that you instill in you. Another everyday wisdom is a very amusing thing where you are told not to go to the neighbor's house too often. I think this is culturally across the board. Where you see, if you go to the neighbor's house too often, then they think that you've come to borrow something or you've come to take something away. So initially the song says that the neighbor will give you a nice chair to sit on. She'll give you a nice thali with food, with bhakri and bhaji. Now bhaji is a vegetable which was not very common, not very easy to get. So she would treat you nicely. But if you go too often, what will she do? She'll slide a peda, like a pat, across with her big toe, which is like almost like an insult. And she will make you sit on that peda. She will not treat you well. So this is everyday wisdom. Because some of the singers, they said, we never went to school. Nobody taught us how to behave. Nobody gave us any kind of education or wisdom. We used to run around in the village, go to the village temple, and there would be grannies sitting there, and they would sing and they would teach us a wisdom. This is how we got our everyday earthy wisdom. Now here's an interesting song which is like a standalone song, but it has a lot of wisdom in it. At the offset, you will be shocked by the song, really, because you will feel that Goa, was there incest? Can I read it out to you? I am a girl with golden hair, my hair is filled with gold. The gold in my hair is a curse. Oh, how it's become a curse. Listen to my story, O listener of stories. This is the story of the curse. One day my mother said to me, go to the river to wash your hair. To wash my hair to the river I went. I was washing my golden hair in the river when one single strand of hair fell. The single strand of hair it fell, and the river gods must have looked away, because my future was decided then and there. At the moment, my strand of hair went floating towards a man who was bathing in the same river. And then the song goes on about the man falling in love with that single strand of hair and telling his mother that he will marry only this girl with the golden hair. And the mother says, you can't marry her, she's your sister. So he says, no, I'll go to another village. So he grabs her hand and they go off to another village as man and wife. And she herself is not comfortable with it, because in the song she says, I'm my own brother's wife. How can that be? I am my own brother's wife. My mother is now my mother-in-law. I am Vani means bhabi or sister-in-law to myself. What have you done, my children? Such a thing is forbidden, sings my poor unhappy mother. Your clothes are still hanging on the clothesline. Vermilion is wet with oil. The coconut palms have forgotten to sing. Flowers in the front yard are not blooming anymore. Tamarind tree is being haunted by ghosts. We live together as man and wife today in the other village where nobody cares. Listen to my story, O listener of listeners. This is the story of the girl with the golden hair. Now, initially, I was as shocked as you probably are, but it is not a song about incest as we know it. Because in Goa, even a boy from the same village is your brother. Even a boy of the same gotra is your brother. Your cousin is your brother. In some cultures, we are not forbidden from marrying our cousins. In Catholics, you can marry, in Muslims, you can marry, Parsis, you can marry your cousins. But amongst the Hindus, we don't marry our cousins. So that is also considered incest. And another very endearing thing is that suppose your mother can't nurse you, and somebody from the village who's just had a baby comes and nurses you, then both the children are considered sisters or brother and sister. So that boy is called a doodh bhav. Doodh is milk, doodh bhav or doodh bahin. So this is how they taught you. She says, nobody gave us sex education in those days. Nobody told us what is forbidden. No. Nobody said, these are the rules, you have to follow them. Nothing like that. Through song, through stories, we were told this is allowed, this is not allowed. Simple. Now we come to a period in Goa's history that in 1684, the Portuguese government had banned speaking and singing in Konkani, which is our local language. So the lullabies, the morning songs, the oviyos, which are the grinding songs sung at the grinding stone in Konkani, they all went underground. Some of them have disappeared forever. It's one of Goa's biggest losses, I feel. But suddenly, I went with the first volume of the book, Grinding Stories, to meet Dr. Carlos Fernandez, the curator of the library, Central Library in Panjim. And he said, why have you documented only the Hindu songs? There are Catholic songs also. And I was like, really? Where? Because we had thought that they had disappeared. So he introduced me to a group of singers in Kepe, which is way down south. They have kept this tradition alive. And this is one of the songs. Most of the songs they sing are wedding songs. And this one is very mischievous, actually. Our son-in-law comes every day. Son-in-law, how come you go to your mother-in-law's house so often? The slightest excuse and you're there. And every time a new excuse. Now suddenly it goes into another topic. The pumpkin creeper is helped up the roof. It ripens in the morning dew. Every house has a pumpkin that ripens in the sun and dew. I don't know why that paragraph is there, but it's there. Our dear son-in-law is learning fast. He now knows how to draw the line and extend the drawn line too. The sweet tamarind tree bears crooked fruit. You got that? A fruit as crooked as a bent finger. And here we were worried you would never be married. Wait until the novelty of these visits wears off, dear brother. Later, we are saying you'll not bother. So it's a very sweet and a gentle way of telling the son-in-law, you're not supposed to come to the mother-in-law's house every day. I believe that in a lot of parts, of many parts of India, especially Maharashtra, the evening light was very, very important. Of course, there was no electricity when these songs were composed. So the evening light, where you lit the lamps, you lit the first lamps. Children came home from the play. The farm, the fields were switched, turned dark. It turned dark. You didn't go to the field anymore. You came home from the fields. You washed up. You took a bath and changed into clean clothes for the night. And after that, you sat down for prayers or your homework by the evening light. Now, this is one of the most songs that are close to nature. So sometimes they said, look at the trees, the shadow of the trees is falling. That's how you tell the time of the day. the monsoon, changing seasons. People sing, the ladies sing about the changing seasons also. This one is about the monsoon, the Sarojini song. Monsoon has set in, how much it's raining. The river has flooded and so have the fields. The fields are full of paddy, the plate is brimming with food, yet I cannot take a morsel. So here's a combination of both nature, love for nature, describing the rains, as well as missing your daughter. Wondering how my daughter is doing in her new home, a mother remembers, only a mother knows how to remember a daughter.
लक्ष्मी दारी उभी, लक्ष्मी दारी उभी, घरणी बाईचं मन बगी, बाईचं मन बगी. सावळी परतली, सावळी परतली, निगे दारातल्या असनाती, दारातल्या असनाती. वाटणी मिया बगी, वाटणी मिया बगी, माझ्या पाठीच्या रतनाची, पाठीच्या रतनाची. सावळी परतली, सावळी परतली, निगे पर्वत डोंगराची, पर्वत डोंगराची. वाटणी मिया बगी, वाटणी मिया बगी, माझ्या पाठीच्या बंधवाची, पाठीच्या बंधवाची.
So here you have a song that combines nature, evening light, the lighting of the lamps, how the shadows of the trees have fallen and tell you, and also waiting for your brother. So it's a combination of all the emotions and expressions. Now, the songs have also gone through a lot of changes over the years, and sometimes they modify as they go on.
रस्त्याने वयतले चेड्या चुरांनी घरांगान बुलयलो रस्त्याने वयतले चेड्या चुरांनी घरांगान बुलयलो मोगरेच न्हयतो कळो गोलसांगान बुलयलो गोलसांगान बुलयलो रस्त्याने वयतले चेडवा चेड्यान घरांगान बुलयले रस्त्याने वयतले चेडवा चेड्यान घरांगान बुलयले आयलो रे आयलो काणी प्यारी न्हिदला उमतो काणी प्यारी न्हिदला उमतो आज पावय मुगे मोरचो आयकुन्याक कोण म्हणचो आज बावय मोरे गोरचो आयकुन्यात की कोण म्हणचो आयले गो आयले काणे प्यारे न्हीद लावूं मुगे काणे प्यारे न्हीद लावूं मुगे आज कोणी म्हणतो गोरची आयोनी की कोण म्हणची आज कोणी म्हणतो गोरची आयोनी की कोण म्हणची.
Notice anything different in the songs that we've heard earlier and this one? The dress is different. The earlier storytellers were in the 9-yard sari, sitting down on the floor. Here we have a group singing. And this is Amelbai, the lady in the pink floral dress. She's the one who actually has saved all these songs, preserved them, put a group together, and now they perform. They've been all over the world through the Art and Culture Ministry from Goa. And they sing, and this song is particularly very sweet, in which they warn the younger boys not to loiter around, that the girls will bewitch you, that these buds are not for you, the song says. And also says these mogras don't open very easily, and so on. So it's a very subtle, earthy humorous way of warning the boys not to fall for the girls in the village. The other thing that these are Catholic Gaudas who preserve these songs, and one of the things is alcoholism is universal problem everywhere, I think. So nobody talks about it. The Hindu storytellers certainly will never mention it, even though they suffer the same. So, but these people sing about it, and in this song it says, Sadachi naiti batli, Sadachi naiti batli. This bottle is not an everyday thing. No, this bottle at least. Crazy, mad fellow you are, thinking this bottle has no cork, no cap or screw. The ring on my finger sends you a message. It also sends me a message, a report. Now, they've used the word report in the original also. So English, Portuguese, sometimes Gujaratis also entered Konkani songs. This bottle is not an everyday affair. Oh man, please understand. The ring is sends me a message. And how we know these songs have changed over the years is of course, by the way that they talk about the bottle openly, about alcoholism openly through the song and so on. But in this song particularly, I feel that this is quite a transmutated song. It's very modern. We are on our way, we are going through our Goa rather speedily. Now, in those days, there were only bullock carts. So there were no motor cars or motorized transport. So I have a feeling that it's either modified later or it's a new song. The mother of the bride has taken out her best saris, her new saris to wear. See how she walks in it. Her stride is like a gallop. It's her daughter's wedding. Today she will not pause to take a breath. Daughter of ours looks like a doll in the mirror, but we will not allow our daughter to go too far. After all, Goa is a small place. All along the way, the cane tree is full of fruit everywhere. In every tree, our new son-in-law is handsome. He is our brother now. We walk to our new brother's house very quickly. So it's opening up, Goa is opening up from tiny villages and being confined to the village and village politics. There are songs about opening up, traversing all of Goa and traveling and motorized transport speedily. This is the same group that you saw sing earlier, Amelbai and her troupe, Louisine and her friend. And they are dressed in what is called a kunbi sari, which is tied with a knot. In the old days, they didn't wear a blouse. Today, they wear a blouse. This is a performance that they did for us at Kepe. They come from that area, Kepe, and the sari is worn short because they work in the field, so they have to wear a sari really short. And it's not a 9-yard sari. It's not taken through between the legs and tucked at the back. I was speaking about the Konkani ban in 1864, and this is the credit to this community that they preserve these songs. Nevertheless, what has happened is there's a permanent loss of a lot of oviyos, and luckily I discovered them at Kepe. We are observing a change in society also. If you read the second paragraph of this song, this one, she says, this way and that way, the bride's mother-in-law is fair, the bride's father-in-law is charcoal. If you see them together, you'd think you were watching an old black and white TV. Oh, neighbors, please don't ridicule us. So black and white TV must have come in the 60s or 70s, and this is obviously a very modified old OVO. I think we're coming towards the end of our presentation. Thank you very much. I'm going to end with Lakshmi Vishnu Harwalkar's OVO, in which she talks about, there's no subtitles, but you will be able to make out where she says, oh, we used to wear 9-yard saris, now you wear fancy salwar kameez. We used to wear leather chappals, now you wear bata slippers, and so on and so on. It goes on and on and on. And I must tell you that they modify, they can make a song right on the spot. Right on the spot. They'll come to you, they look at you, and they say, oh, she's wearing short hair. We used to wear her hair long. She's wearing short hair. Like that, sing a song to it. Compose it right on the spot. So I'm going to play this for a bit.
आधी आठली चामड्याची जुती आता झाली उत्कटाची जुती लागले तो बायलो गाला याओ यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी आठली नऊवारी कापडा आता झाले मोजेचे चुडीदार लागले तो बायलो गाला याओ यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असलो रयाचं कुकुम आता झालं मोजेचे टिकले लागले तर बायलो लाया लावो यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असले वाई नमुसार आता झालं दुकान पाच गिरणी लागले तर बायलो हसाया लागले तर बायलो नाचाया यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असले गुंड्याचे दाते आता झालं दळपाचं गिरणी लागले तो बायलो नाचाया लागले तो बायलो हसाया यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असलं गुंड्याचं पात्री आता झाले मोजेचे मिरचे लागले तर मिरच्या वाटाया यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असले झरीचे पाणी आता झाले मोजेचे न लागले तर पाणी भराया लागले तर पाणी भराया यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असले 3 खुराच्या चुली आता झाले मोजेचे गे लागले तो बायलो हसाया लागले तो बायलो नाचाया आधी असलं 3 खुराचं चुली आधी असलं मातीचं मोठं आता झाले हेंड्यालीन तो लागले तो बायलो हसाया लागले तो बायलो नाचाया वाळूक असलं कट्टेचं डोलं आता झाले मोजेचे कडवले लागले तो बायलो हसाया लागले तो बायलो नाचाया आधी असलं नाचण्याचं भाकरी आता झाली मोजेची फिटा लागलं तर भाकरी बाजाया यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे आधी असलं माथ्यावर धोपटं आता झालं चैन्याची पास्ता लागलं तर खाना लाया लावो यो कशी जाऊ मी नंदाओ नारे
So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I know it must have been quite an effort to get here, knowing what your Bangalore traffic and parking woes are. But thank you so much for coming. Thanks again to everyone who supported me and shared so much of their stories and their lives for both the books and for this presentation. If there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening.
Thank you for this presentation.
Thank you.
I actually have 3 questions. My first question is with regards to the Bhakti movement. in the 12th century, Karnataka sees the Veerashaiva movement, which moves through Goa onto Maharashtra. So do we see any impact of that in these songs? Any kind of devotion, any kind of retelling of epics?
Retelling of epics, yes, but Goan storytellers have their own take on the epics. For example, we don't follow Valmiki's Ramayana, we follow the Guddi Ramayana.
Okay.
And it's a perspective of Lakshmana and how Lakshmana views the Ramayana. So that is one difference. And the other thing is we often, like I was telling about Gowri's song, for example, you may not find that song in any written down any epics or anything. You won't find that. But they make like how did Doodh Sagar? We have a waterfall called the Doodh Sagar. There's one song which how did Doodh Sagar get its name? Now there's a long story about baby Krishna, and there is Jarasandha. You've heard the legend of Jarasandha. Well, apparently Jarasandha's father had 2 wives and no sons, so he gets a fruit from a hermit, and the hermit says, "Give it to your wife, and she'll bear a child." And he says, "How can I give it to one wife? I have to split it." He splits it and gives it to half and half, both the wives. And they get this baby that is half and half. So he stitched up very quickly, Jarasandha. Sandha means a stitching up. And he becomes, for some reason, a very evil tyrant kind of king. And Lord Krishna, who's still a baby, comes down to save the people from Jarasandha's tyranny. So, and his mother is frantic because the baby Krishna has disappeared. So she follows him. Now he solves the problem. And of course, everything happens in Goa for Goans. So he solves the problem, and then the mother meets baby Krishna, and her breasts flow with milk, and that becomes the Doodh Sagar waterfall. So we have our own take on the legends. This is just one of the stories. The same about how Lord Shiva and Parvati were playing dice in the Himalayas. Lord Shiva cheats at the dice and she wins, even though he cheats. So she laughs at him, Parvati, and she says, "You cheated and you lost. I didn't cheat and I won." So he walks off in a huff and he comes to Goa, apparently. And he stays in, and he comes to an area where the Kushavati river flows. And the song goes on about describing the river and the animals, birds, crocodiles, everything. Is a beautiful song about the whole Kushavati river and the banks of the river and so on. Now Parvati comes down from Himalayas to look for her lord, can't find him anywhere. Suddenly she sees this tiger and she says, "Oh Mangirish." She calls out to Lord Shiva, and it's Lord Shiva actually in the form of a tiger, and he takes his own form, and then they decide to stay in Goa. That is how Lord Shiva and Parvati came to Goa, and that's how you have the Mangeshi temple. So we make our own stories.
Thank you so much, ma'am. May I ask the second
Of
too?
course.
Yeah. My second question is about the caste groups.
Good question. But we'll need another day to go into detail. Now, we are a very caste-conscious society. There's no doubt about it. People don't like talking about it, but I can tell you this much, that even after we got converted to became Christians, we still followed the caste system because that was the condition under which we were converted. We said we will retain our Brahmanism. Now, what is the reason for retaining your caste? What is the reason? Now, suppose I am a Hindu and my brother is also a Hindu, but I'm being put under pressure to convert. And unless I convert, my lands and house and fields and everything are confiscated. What do? I get converted. I stay a Catholic. I stay back in Goa. My brother stays a Hindu and leaves. Right. Now, if I don't know my Gotra and my clan, my family origin, my original surname, my daughter may someday marry your son. So cousins will marry. So to stop that from happening, they said that we will retain our caste. So this is about the Brahmins. This is how they decided, and they were allowed to. And one very funny thing is that if you're a Kshatriya, there's one family, let's say, a family that's the Kshatriya family. We only have 3 varnas, by the way. We don't have the middle varna. We don't have the Vyasa. We have the Brahmin, we have the Shardos or Kshatriyas, and we have the Shudras. We don't have, I don't know what happened to that third Varna, whether they merged with up or they merged, went down. I have no idea. But what they did, what this family did was, they did a lot of favors for the Portuguese government. And the Portuguese government then asked them, what do you want in return? So they said that we want to be considered Brahmins. So here's a foreign power coming to India, to Goa, to this tiny state, and gives you a caste exaltation, takes you up from Kshatriya to becoming a Brahmin. But how do we know they are still, how do we still know they are Kshatriyas? Because they follow certain rituals of sacrifice, goat or a rooster or something, and that Brahmins won't do.
All right. My third question deals with this idea of conversion. So I'm from Bangalore. I'm Bangalorean Catholic. And for us, when
What is your last name?
Fernandez Prabhu.
Prabhu. You're a Prabhu. Yeah.
So for us, when we say ovio, it's a very specific form, which we use only at weddings. So it has a specific meter, a specific pattern with regards to literary devices, certain kind of metaphors, images, those kind of things, which I don't really see happening here. So when you say grinding songs and you call them ovio, is there a particular form that you're referring to, or is it just a genre in general?
I think some people, it's a very good question. Some people do refer to any folk song as an ovio. In Maharashtra, they've collected 10,000 ovios from the region. And some of them are Dalit songs. They have nothing to do with the grinding stone. But here in Goa, we generally refer to the songs that are sung at the grinding stone as ovios.
What about the wedding songs?
Wedding songs, that's my, actually, I feel that only wedding songs will survive now, because Hari and I were at a wedding recently, Kundaikar house in Kundai village, and there were 5 grinding stones, all gaudily painted, and none of them worked. And I think half the women over there beautifully dressed and all, but I don't think they'd even touched a grinding stone in their lives. And they were supposed to grind, and there were 2 ladies who were singing and all. And it was like totally bizarre in a way, that it's just a ritual that is performed for the sake of it, chalo kharo kind of thing.
So
it's sad.
It's not a separate genre. Like it doesn't have a different name.
No, I don't think you can put it in a separate genre. It's part of the ovios. Okay. And now it's becoming like a performance genre, a performing art. Rather than, because see, there's electricity, you don't need to grind at the grinding stone. You're getting married at a later age now. You're getting married after you get educated and so on. You don't have to get married at 7 and 8. You don't have to grind at the grinding stone 5 in the morning and feed the family and make bhakris and all that. Daughters-in-law refuse to, they don't want to get into that now. And your flour and everything, semolina, rava, everything's available in the market. So lifestyle changes have happened. And the genre is now slowly getting into just focusing more and more into ritualistic singing. So in a way, I'm not saying we should get up in the morning and start grinding and that. I'm not saying that, but that genre is suffering a lot because of that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, thank you so much to both the technical help and to Bangalore International Center for having us here today. Thank you so much.